Off the Shelf. I'm your host, Yvonne Wolf. Today, our special guest is returning author Charlie Byrum with a new book, The Memoirs of a Tiger. Welcome, Charlie.
Well, glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome to be back. Yeah, since you were here last, you're completed another book. Your previous book was called A Boy's Game. And what led you from there to The Memoirs of a Tiger?
Well, I've always enjoyed sports, and A Boys Game covered sports
As a coach, right?
as a coach. Yeah.
Yes.
And in that case, it was baseball and softball. In this case, it's football. But since I played all sports and I have an interest in them, it was pretty easy to come up with the second book.
You were quite an athlete.
Yes, before I got old.
Don't say that. We're the oldest. Well, there's a time where we can reflect our lessons, and that's what your book is about, right? Who is your intended audience?
Intended audience is individuals that have participated in sports. I've always enjoyed it, and it's anytime I can be involved in sports, is whether it's an author or on a playing field or whatever, it's a good opportunity for me, and I take advantage of it because I like playing a lot.
Well, I remember our last conversation in your last book. You talked so much about the lessons on the ball field, all the emotions, right? Being in a field, playing a game together, the teamwork, and all the lessons you have as a coach for your players. It's not always just about how to play, but how do you become a better person through playing?
Yes, and
is that much of the lessons in this book too?
The lessons in this book are different because this is kind of a capture of the game of football that I was involved in, and it was a great experience, and probably I'd call it a rough experience. But
well, football is a rough sport.
It's a rough sport.
Yeah, compared to baseball.
Yes.
A lot more, contact, right?
Yeah. But they're both good sports, and having played both, I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it.
So what are some stories you mentioned from this memoirs? Is it from your teenage or is it from college? I know you played in college.
I played in college and played in high school, and there's some memories I have, and sometimes they're humorous, and a couple of things that maybe happened to me along the way, where when I played football in college, I was had joined a fraternity, and one of the things that, as a member of the fraternity, that you did is you helped out by working in the kitchen, and in this case, I was in charge of mashed potatoes for the kitchen and all the members that were in it, and I noticed that a moth was flying around when the cook was getting ready to apply the mixer to it, and I alerted her and I said, "You better watch out for the moth," and she said, "That's okay. We'll get by with it." And lo and behold, what does the moth do? He takes a dive into the mashed potatoes.
Oh my!
Yeah,
The secret ingredient.
The ingredient, and the cook didn't want to do this for the second time. She didn't want to have to mash all the potatoes again, so she just scooped it up and just hoped that the moth would not be seen. And we did dish out the potatoes, and the moth was never noticed. And the plates were were passed out, and everybody had their lunch, and no one complained.
Hmm.
And
Lucky.
and she says, "Don't worry, it happens all the time. You just be patient, and usually you're gonna you're gonna get away with it."
Hmm. That's the secret of the kitchen, right? Is
That's
keep
right. That
staying
was
cool.
a secret ingredient.
Yeah.
But
So, what are some challenges? Those are wonderful stories to reminisce, and I'm sure they are very much needed in a time like ours, where we need some of these small, humorous stories to keep us going. But in writing the second book, what are some challenges you have had?
writing the second book, well, it's a different book. You know, it's a different topic, and it's something that you kind of have to remember what you did before if you're going to write a second one. And it was a new topic for me. And actually, it was a very good topic for me. It was a very rewarding topic for me because my grandson happened to be a very good football player. He was good in baseball too, but it was great to see him play football because I loved the game.
Yes.
And I played at Glenbrook.
Yes, Gilbert South, and your grandson's quite an athlete.
He is. He is. He's in college now, and he's not playing sports in college. He'd rather make money. So,
Well, that's not a bad turn of goals, and I'm sure the years in sports will help him or has helped him grow as a person.
you know, very much so, very much so, and it was fun to watch him. And the it was interesting because a lot of the kids that played on his team at Glenbrook um, became very good, friends with him, and I became friends with the parents,
Oh,
and it
and
was
see, and those are the enduring relationships that comes from years of sports.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Now, writing a second book, I would imagine that you still use some of the same organizational skills, like categorizing your stories, maybe organizing them chronologically. But any other challenges did you find in writing about football?
Well, it's a different sport, and in this particular case, it wasn't fictional like a boys' game. It was memoir. It was a memoir, and for me, writing a book that started out when I was played football in Mamaroneck High School in Mamaroneck, New York, and going through it and playing at New Trier, a local school, and then playing at DePaul University. It was just a different progression for me, and it wasn't hard to adapt. But it was you kind of had to change your timing.
In writing this book, going through your stories, did you feel closer to your grandson?
Oh, by all means, by all means, and he was, unfortunately for me, fortunately for him, he graduated and, and went on to college. I loved watching his games, throughout his career, and giving him little coaching tips over the telephone before the next game, and he was gracious enough to listen to it, and I knew that he was just kind of saying, "My gosh, what's my grandpa doing?" But he was very pleasant about it and very accommodating.
Well, I always admire that about athletes. They have to listen to a lot of advice
Yeah.
from all sorts of coaches, assistant coaches, their previous coaches, and with family. So I think it's not easy to do that, to incorporate that.
Yeah, very much so, very much.
Now, in writing this memoir, or how did you learn more about yourself that you may not know of before?
Uh, I would say that uh, you write a book like this, where a lot of things happen, some good, some bad, people are going to get, you know, it's a reflection of what happens. It's a reflection of the feelings of the people that are involved in it. And in this case, it's coaches, it's players, and they all become friends of yours, and you become their friends, except for the coaches. Uh, they have their own way of doing things, but it was fun to realize that you had to adapt how you approach the sport, and how you were going to respond to what the coaches wanted, and it was a difficult period to make sure that you were making the right plays and following instructions.
What do you mean that coaches are not your friends?
Well, they aren't your
Then-
friends. They're great after they've retired or you've retired. They can be great friends, but in the meantime, coaches are, they're out to accomplish what they've set into,
The bigger goal.
the bigger goal.
Yeah, not necessarily your personal best friend.
Well, that's right.
Yes, I see. So they have their eyes on the prize, right? Let's say
That's a good way to put it.
yeah, that's a good way to put
Yeah.
it. Well, I've seen a little bit of that in watching my children in sports,
Yeah.
and boy, they don't waver, and they want you to be part of that prize. If you're, yeah, if
It
you
is
have
part
to
of the
put-
prize, and the thing that's neat to see is, because I've always been involved with boys or men, but it's so nice to see how women have adapted to the game, and have played the game.
Yes, yes. In our, I guess, lifetime, we've seen much more women participating in sports, softball, every kind of sports, and they're very competitive as
They're
well.
very competitive.
Yeah, I admire their athletic skills as well. And
Yeah.
some of these girls are, boy, they all seem very tall. Like 5'10", it seemed like a normal
Oh.
size for many of these athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fun to watch. It's fun to coach if you're involved in it. But it's, good, healthy activity is just good to see for everybody involved in it.
Yes, being interested in sports and fitness. Well, Charlie, did you have to scale down this memoir? I mean, I'm sure you have many, many stories to share about your life,
Oh,
many stories to reflect on. But was it hard to scale down to this size for your memoir?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because it's you enjoy the challenges of sports, but you also enjoy the fun of it and the humor that's involved, and humor is probably the best thing that comes out of it. Humorous events. I can think of one time in playing football in college. We were playing a rival team, but one of our fringe players on our team got in the game,
I see.
and he was anxious to do it because he didn't play much. And he was sitting on the bench at the time that this happened, but he there was a play made on the field, and a fellow named Charlie Peck, who was a nice guy, a fringe player, but he practiced all the time, even though he didn't get in the game. And it was a muddy day when the loudspeaker announced that the last play was made by Charlie Peck. And the coach went, "Charlie Peck, Charlie Peck," and he was just
Furious.
flabbergasted. And and he said, Charlie Peck. So Charlie Peck, who's on the bench, gets off, straps on his helmet, and runs up to the coach and said, "Yeah, coach, what can I do?" And the coach went, "Oh, thank God, Charlie. I thought you were in the game."
So he didn't want him in there.
No, the coach didn't want him there, and I don't know, ultimately, I'm sure he went on to have a very good career, but
Yes.
not in football.
Yeah, it's a very hard sport to play. I don't think people can play that for a long career. It is very tough on you.
It's tough on you.
Yeah.
It's tough on you, but if you get through, you're relieved, and you're proud of yourself that you've accomplished something like
Yes,
that.
it's quite a badge of honor. to be
Well,
able
it
to-
is. It is.
Now, before the interview, we talked about the cover. Now, this is quite a handsome young man, and you say it's not you. So why did you not pick a picture of yourself? I'm sure
Well-
you have a picture of yourself from then.
Well, I did have a picture of myself from my own experiences in college, and so we put him on the front cover.
The picture is, who is this young man?
The young man on the cover is my grandson Hank.
Yes. Now, yes, tell us about why.
So he's on the cover because he was a very good player, and his mother is a very good photographer, and she's molded that talent with pictures of Hank, getting ready to play for football. So, but it's
What a nice product of arts, both of them.
oh yeah, and I had
the talents.
I even had an old picture of myself from playing football where I'm on the back cover. He's on the front cover, but I got my appropriate place on the back cover.
And that's a wonderful choice. I can see why you chose your grandson now. So what do you enjoy the most, Charlie, about the preparation work in putting this memoir together?
In putting the memoir together, well, during the course of your lifetime, you meet a lot of people who are, if you're playing a sport or you're, working for a company or something like that, they get together. What they do is the result of teamwork.
Yes.
And being able to see the teamwork that's been involved in every team I've been on has been a very important thing and a very rewarding thing for me. And
I can see that. Yeah, I can see the teamwork in all these groups and remembering all those wonderful people. Perhaps they were only in your life for a short period, a season. You garnered that memory.
you do. And it was particularly rewarding when I saw the opportunity to do that with my grandson. And the team he was on was a great bunch of guys, and they're probably the best football team that's been generated by the school in years. And so it was fun to go to the games and sit with the parents and sit with my own relatives that are there and friends that are there, and I'd say, "That's my boy."
Yeah. And the camaraderie, right? Not just seeing it on the field, but on the bleachers.
Yeah, exactly.
You have something you do as a social group.
We do.
Yeah. So that's a really wonderful, I guess, part of your life. Part of your weekend routine, or.
And I can. Well, he's in California now, so I can't spend that valuable time with.
Oh, but you'll be back soon, right?
He'll be back soon, and my daughter will be there to make sure he gets back.
Yeah. Now, have you done something about the marketing of this book? Like, have you been speaking at some places for your book, or?
No, I haven't. I've made it a point that I like writing the book. It's very rewarding. I like it a lot, and you do you get an opportunity to sell what you produce. But to me, selling a book is not the
Point. It's not the point.
It's not the point. It's not the point. It's just the exercise and the putting forth the effort of writing is the important thing. And yeah, there's some financial reward, but I'm not in the business of that.
Not for that, but I can understand that too. Then, have you received some reader response towards your book?
Oh yeah, I have. I had there's a meet and greet.
Yes, at the Glenview Library.
That the library has, and fortunately, with the friends that my daughter had, she got everybody over, and the kids came over, and it was a lot of fun to be there.
Yeah, it was like a block party.
Yeah, it was.
In the library lobby. That's wonderful. Yeah, those are the memories that we cherish. So what advice do you have for other authors if they're working on a memoir? Would you tell them to, scale this based on chronological order or based on thematic order? What would you recommend, Charlie?
Well, what I do is, everybody has his own style of writing and his own style of promoting. And I've just felt myself, and advice I give to another person is hit the ball hard. Maybe it's taking the sports aspect of my life, but hit the ball hard and do the best you can. And if you do a good job, people are going to hear about it, and they're going to be glad they followed your advice.
Yes, and Charlie, you've been a longtime resident of Glenview. What connects you to Glenview?
Well, my first connection was probably about 45 years ago. I had just graduated from college, and I had a job driving a cab in Glenview.
Really?
Which I enjoyed. Very, very nice people and very interesting people in Glenview.
That must be something else.
Oh.
Right? Driving a cab, you probably talk to a lot of, I guess, people who are visiting or people who live here.
Yeah. But I can assure you my next book will not be about cab driving in Glenview.
that will probably be a very funny collection of stories as well.
Yeah.
And Charlie, do you have any messages for our writers out there?
It's just is keep it up. Go to events where you can get some advice from people, and give a little advice to the younger people that need it from you. Mm-hmm. And I would say that is probably the best way to go through a career on this.
Yes, and to keep talking to people.
Yeah.
I think that's what books do. We talk to people we otherwise wouldn't have met.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for joining us again on Glenview TV Off the Shelf.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
And thank you for watching. Join us next time on Off the Shelf.